Happy New Year, everybody! It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, January 1st, 2017. New Year's Eve is the perfect excuse for a gala charity event in Genoa City. It was so good this week. We had hors d'oeuvres, we had dancing, we had a live auction, and we had some cold, hard revenge. Some might say just desserts being served up at the gala event. It was fantastic. Mariah, toward the beginning of the week, started to have kind of flashbacks, kind of suspicions that her big fall, which made a huge fool of her all over TV, all over the internet, was maybe not quite an accident. She starts to ask herself, what happened? I practiced walking in these shoes, so why did I take a big nosedive? And she is thinking back to the day. She is remembering Hilary standing there leering over her with pretty much maniacal happiness that she's fallen flat on her face, and Mariah begins to realize that it was all Hilary's doing. Honestly, I thought I knew that Hilary did something. I just had a feeling that it wasn't an accident, but I thought it was shoe sabotage. Yes, I watched that scene many times, and I went back and thought about it, and I really thought that Y&R was implying that Hilary did something to Mariah's shoe, although this week we had a new scene, a new revelation that wasn't there before. I thought Y&R was sort of implying it, but now this week we have an explicit scene that showed Hilary taking the little cord that was running under the red carpet and kicking it to trip Mariah. So confirmation, Hilary did sabotage Mariah. She just didn't do it in the way that I thought she did. That whole thing came out this week. Mariah remembers seeing Hilary standing next to the cord and just kind of puts two and two together. She didn't really exactly have any real proof, but Mariah decided that she was going to enact a little plan to bust Hilary out publicly in the same way that Hilary humiliated her publicly. So we are at the big gala event, which Hilary is nervous about, by the way. She wants this charity event to go off without a hitch. It's very upscale. She's trying very hard to pronounce all of her French words correctly. And Devon is reassuring her the whole time, babe, you've got this. You're great. I mean, she's back at GC Buzz. She's at the top of her game. And we've got Mariah over in the back of the room with the teleprompter controls. Of course you knew as soon as you saw the teleprompter that something was gonna go wrong. Hilary is standing up there at the podium, again a little bit nervous, but really relying on the teleprompter to help her give her big speech and to auction off all of these fabulous items for people to bid on. And she begins to read what seems to just be a normal description, normal script, and all of a sudden she begins to unknowingly confess the fact that she tripped Mariah. I mean, Mariah had typed out onto the teleprompter basically the whole thing, that she tripped, the way I tripped Mariah, and Hilary ended up kind of inadvertently confessing to what she did and saying it out loud before she realized what she was saying. The crowd was aghast. I mean, everybody was like, did she just say that? Did she just do that? Because everybody in the room saw Mariah take a dive, and they are realizing that, oh my gosh, maybe Hilary did have something to do with that. I mean, they don't realize that she was just reading from a teleprompter, but it was scandalous. Mariah is just sitting back, just staring. I mean, the look on Mariah's face as she's watching all of this go down was kind of delicious, not gonna lie. And the look of humiliation on Hilary's face was also kind of delicious. Gosh, Hilary, as soon as she realizes what Mariah has done to her, she marches up to Mariah to confront her, but doesn't really deny it. That was the part that was the most surprising to me, that Hilary just kind of admitted that she did it. And, well, she at the very least at first doesn't deny it. And Devon, watching this whole thing down, realizes that it's true as well. I mean, he didn't really even need to ask any questions. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, but Devon just immediately believed that this was the kind of thing that Hilary would have done, and all of the evidence stacked up for it. Hilary didn't like Mariah having her spotlight, and that was motive enough. And I think if it weren't for the fact that Hilary had been lying about the talent agent, and that she and Devon had just talked about it, just come to this really good place where they decided, let's connect, let's really make a home for ourselves, let's make a life for ourselves, and let's not argue about petty things. Let's actually be partners. And the fact that they just come to this level of understanding, I think, made the truth sting a little bit more. Devon realized that this is just one more lie in a series of lies that unfortunately he feels that Hilary has told to him. So once again, Hilary doesn't really, she tries to explain, but doesn't deny it, even though Mariah doesn't have any proof. Did you guys find that a little bit odd that Mariah, mostly it was just a notion. She had sort of an instinct that Hilary was behind it, but she wasn't able to prove it. Hilary could have lied about it and continued to get away with it, but she didn't. She explained that she did it, but that she wasn't trying to hurt Mariah. It was sort of, I think, probably in her mind an instinctual thing that she did, but it was Devon's last straw. I was really surprised because we've seen a pattern of Devon letting Hilary get away with it. I mean, he gets mad at her, but he never really has forced her to become accountable for any of the nasty things that she's done, and specifically to Mariah, the way Hilary was pushing Mariah around the office. I mean, Devon never really held Hilary in check for that too sternly, and now he is really, really staunch. He immediately is ticked off at her. She immediately is trying to get him to understand and to forgive, and he's pushing her away, saying, no, I'm done with this. You know what you just did? That was evil. He actually called her evil and walked out on her. Oh, I mean, he got in the elevator and was just like, no thanks, bye. He was like, bye. And I mean, it was intense, and it was sort of unexpected. I don't know why. I just expected him to believe her. But it was a juicy little piece of drama at the very end of Friday's episode, and I think makes a really good poll question for this week. So, what do you guys think about this big blow up that happened between Devon and Hilary? And more specifically, do you think that Devon should forgive Hilary? I think that the instinct probably is to say, no, why would he forgive her? But I would love to hear some arguments for why he should forgive her. I mean, it was something that she kind of did before they came to this big understanding between each other and decided on no more lies, but it is still a lie. So YRChat.com is where you can cast your vote and tell me, do you think that Devon should forgive Hilary? And I'd love to get some comments for the pros and the cons. I think this is the big question of the week. I think it's going to be the big question of next week. She was begging him not to leave. She is almost literally there wringing her hands at the elevator as the doors are closing on him and he's walking away from her. And then she goes home. He's not at their house. She is just there alone in the dark. And by the way, right before that, she had a quick little interaction with Jack where she apologized for ruining the gala and also said to him, you know, I'm real successful here. I've managed to ruin the gala. I've managed to destroy my marriage. And as bad as what Hilary did was, I feel like she seems really sorry more toward Devon than she does toward Mariah. I mean, she has really taken advantage of Devon, I think, within the last several weeks and months, but at the same time, she really does love him. I do think that she really does love Devon, but she just wants to get away with what she's gonna get away with, and it also doesn't hurt that Devon is like the goose that has laid the golden eggs. I mean, I didn't even think about it really within the past couple of weeks very much, but I mean, she seemed sort of flippant about their relationship. It's almost as if, hey, I'm gonna do whatever I want and you can either get on board with me, Devon, or, you know, whatever, you can just go away. But at the end of the day, I think when she got the notion that he was actually going to leave her, that she actually couldn't wrap him around her little finger, that this wasn't gonna go her way, her attitude completely changed and she was really, really regretful toward him. And I think it may have been sort of a reflection moment where she realized that what she has done by pursuing her career and this pettiness with Mariah, she has ended up hurting her husband and pushing him away from her. I mean, the man has been nothing but good to her. He's been nothing but understanding to her. I mean, he bought her a high-rise building last week, and then this week spent like $200,000 on a car at her charity event to help up the donations for a project that she cares very passionately and very personally about. That car, I had no idea it was gonna come into play, but I tell you, I did not need 3 scenes of him being in that car at a high speed to tell me how that was all gonna end. The second he walked out of the building and they had the shot of Devon standing in front of the car, I was like, oh Lord, I think we all know how this is gonna end. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or you could be a new soap opera watcher, and I think it was pretty obvious how that was going to end. I don't know, he's in the car, he's all distraught. It is specifically a car that goes very, very fast, and we had this sort of funky montage, sort of blurry, a blurry visual montage of Devon's face, and we saw the dashboard of the car. He's driving, I mean, the car goes up to, what was it, something like 250 miles per hour. I don't know where he was driving in Wisconsin exactly, where you can take a car like that up to 250, but he was. And we had this audio overlay of the arguments that he and Hilary have been having, and he started talking out loud, and he's grabbing the radio and turning it up really loud. And I honestly, driving fast recklessly does have a way of making you feel better sometimes, but as fast as he was going, that was a little bit over the top. There was a part of me that was thinking, I almost just wish that this is gonna be a signal of a new kind of crazy, fast-living rich guy Devon. I wasn't wanting it to turn into an accident, but I knew, of course, that it was going to. So I guess there's probably no way around us getting stuck with a bunch of hospital scenes next week. I'm imagining we're gonna be in the hospital with Devon for at least a couple of days next week. So I'm left sort of wondering where Y&R is going to end up taking this, of course. I'm not sure if this near-death experience that I assume Devon is going to be having will change his attitude toward Hilary, give her an opportunity to help him, to prop him up for a change, or maybe it's going to push them further apart. Maybe we're actually going to be seeing the beginning of a whole new Devon. It was real nice of Mariah to bust up a charity event in order to get revenge on Hilary. She did kind of cause a big old scene at what was supposed to be an altruistic event. She busted it up pretty much with reckless abandonment. She was not thinking about the donations. I mean, the biggest donation, the biggest prize, the thing that was going to bring in the most money was this vacation, this private vacation, and they didn't even get to take bids on it, so that kind of screwed up the event. Or maybe Victor did. Victor did buy it twice, actually. Mariah, she almost has kind of a penchant for stumbling into success. It's like the very definition of falling backwards into a pile of roses because she busted up this charity event, but it ultimately worked out in the Abbott Winters Foundation's favor because somebody, I'm sure, was recording the whole thing going down, and it goes viral. Everybody's talking about it. It's raised awareness for the foundation, and so I'm sure they're going to get tons of new money as a result. And Mariah strikes once again. She's probably going to be, even a more famous internet sensation than she was before, and maybe she'll get a new boyfriend out of the whole thing. Who knows? We have a new geek in town that Mariah was seen dancing with at the gala. I don't know if Y&R is laying the groundwork for something. Mariah does like geeky guys. I mean, Kevin is a computer tech whiz. Ravi is a computer tech whiz. So who knows? They could be GC's hottest new couple. Or I don't know. I mean, who? I feel like Y&R is going to need to pair Mariah with somebody eventually, and I don't know who I want it to be. What do you think about Ravi and Mariah? Or are we still stuck on Kevin and Mariah? We had a moment at the end of Friday's show where Mariah was just looking onward as Kevin and Chloe are sucking face at the stroke of midnight, and Mariah's there alone. Who are we gonna pair her up with? I saw a lot of comments this week of people asking about Theo, the bearded guy at I almost called it Restless Style at GC Buzz. There's this guy who's kind of been friendly with Mariah this week, and he ended up tipping her off about the whole cord thing, and he sort of pushed the domino down that led to Mariah realizing Hilary had sabotaged her. So and everybody seems to be asking about old Theo. I don't know who the actor is. I don't know if he's somebody I should know. If anybody does know, let me know. Leave me a comment. What's the deal with Theo? Or who knows? You never know. It could be like maybe Reed coming back into town could be a pair for Mariah. I don't know. I feel like her and Ravi would make a good pair though. Out of all of them, who do we want to pair Mariah with? Maybe Devon? Maybe Devon? That could be where it's all headed as well. Maybe she'll somehow win the love of Theo and they will become GC's next power couple, or who knows, maybe Ravi will be able to stop drooling over basically anybody in the room for long enough to have a steady girlfriend. He needs a steady girlfriend, okay? Like, Ravi is a walking boner. This guy, we need to get him a lady friend. Somebody needs to take care of this guy. Maybe the fact that he's just a walking boner was the reason that Mariah wriggled away from the dance. That would be pretty awkward dancing with him. I mean, he's got his sex drive in overdrive. But Ashley is his main squeeze. It was kind of cute last week and into this week that he had a little bit of a crush on Ashley, but it got a little more weird when he seemed like he was crushing on just anybody and anything that had a pulse. I mean, of course, Ashley's a goddess. It makes sense that he would have a huge crush on her, but then Abby comes into the picture and he seems very taken with the daughter of Ashley. She's a little closer to his age. I mean, Abby was talking a lot this week about the fact that it was a year ago that she and Stitch were very happy in their relationship, and now here she is alone on New Year's Eve, and she was the one who tried to hook Ravi up with Mariah, but you never know. Maybe Abby and Ravi are the couple to be. It's sort of, it's a pattern that Abby ends up with guys who really just want her mom. Ew. Maybe I don't want that to happen. Abby deserves a guy who doesn't have eyes for her mom or dad, for that matter. Ravi is starstruck with Victor Newman, understandably. It's the magic of the mustache, but he meets Victor and realizes that Abby is the daughter of Victor and Ashley. But I mean, he seemed like his eyes, his pupils are probably giant, and his tongue was wagging around, meeting the great and powerful Victor Newman. Maybe Ravi will be the next person to come in between Nikki and Victor. Last week's poll question was, do you like the kinder, gentler version of Victor Newman? And overwhelmingly, 87% of you said yes, we like new Victor. 13% of you saying no, and I think that mostly, just from reading the comments and feedback about that question, it seems like if the people who had voted no, we don't like this Victor, mostly feel like it's too little too late. And I get that. I think that we've seen villain Victor for a number of years now, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's had this change of heart that really hasn't been explained. I think Y&R is maybe trying to approach it from a he misses Adam sort of angle. He's lost his son. He's realized that his children don't want to take over the legacy that he spent his entire life trying to build for them. And maybe he's older, maybe he's wiser, I don't know. But I think that's sort of the angle Y&R is going with. But I agree, it is pretty quick. I just can't complain because I've been waiting to see this nicer version of Victor for quite a long time. And I did like that he had a moment with Abby at the gala where he was trying to comfort her, and he's actually taking Nikki on vacations. It seems like Victor is trying to be the leader of the family, and I do like that. I can't complain too much because I think that it's a position that really needs to be filled on the show. We need the patriarch to be a patriarch. I'm not saying that Victor can't meddle and that he can't get involved in business craziness and rivalries and all that good juicy drama stuff, but at the end of the day, I personally would like to see Victor come back to a center, you know, it's a kinder, gentler center. I want to know that he's a human being and not just a villainous monster. And we also this week saw him decide to do a little space for space swap with Jabot. So Jack and Neil are realizing that they don't have a place to host this big New Year's Eve gala because of some snafu with a real estate guy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They cannot find space on New Year's Eve to host this gala, and Ashley decides to go to Victor to ask if there's any chance they can use top of the tower. Now, Victor's not jumping to do any favors for Jack. It's definitely a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours sort of situation. And in order to help alleviate Victoria's stress over Brash and Sassy getting evicted from Jabot, Victor says, all right, Jack, you tell Jack, Ashley, you go tell Jack that he can have my building, the top of the tower building for his event if he agrees not to evict Brash and Sassy. So as quickly as that whole eviction storyline bubbled up, it just fizzled out. It just went away. Victor was able to wave his magic wand and make that happen, which does alleviate a lot of stress that was going on behind the scenes at Brash and Sassy, and it definitely helps grease the wheels for Billy and Victoria. Prediction, almost came true. I thought that Billy and Victoria would be ringing in 2017 with a big old smooch, and it was so close. They decided to ditch the gala party to go home because the kid was a little bit ill. The whole kid getting ill thing is another one of those. It's like getting in the car. It's like Devon getting in the car. You know it's going to result in a wreck. The kid getting sick will always result in some sort of story, like it'll bring the parents together is basically what it is. So Billy and Victoria rushed home to check on Johnny, who is a little sick, but not sick enough to get in the way of the romance. And it's counting down to midnight, and what do you know? They get real close to having a smoocheroo. It's quick. It's so quick. She was just getting engaged to Travis 2 weeks ago, and then 1 week ago she was saying, I'm done with men. I want to be independent, and I just have bad taste in men. And now here we are this week, and she's already falling back into an almost kiss with Billy. I don't know. What do you guys think about the Billy and Victoria almost kiss? Well, the reason it was an almost kiss was because ding dong, the bell on the door rang and interrupted them. Guess who it is? Victoria's first son. I think it's her first child. I know she miscarried in the 90s, I want to say. But I think Reed is her first son. He shows up at the door with a cop. And I'm assuming that he's in trouble with the law. I'm assuming that Reed came into town for New Year's Eve, maybe got a little party in or something in, and he's returned promptly to his rich mother. And voila, we have a new cast member. I did know that Y&R was casting Reed. I just saw it though, and I'm kind of excited about it. I'm for it. Bold and the Beautiful just recently cast or Sorazed a child in RJ, and I think it's working out really well there. So I kind of like the idea of having Reed on the show, especially if he's a troublemaker, sort of in the vein of Fenn when he got aged. I don't know how old he is. I'm assuming he's probably just in high school, which wouldn't make him eligible to be a match with Mariah, but I think that he needs to have some other people on the show that are his age so that he can interact with them. I don't know, maybe he's just gonna cause problems for Billy and Victoria. I wish that JT would come back. That would be kind of cool. So Reed is the son of Victoria and JT, for anybody who is a newer viewer, it would be interesting, I think, to have JT come back on the scene. I always thought he was an interesting character. He had a partnership with Paul. He was Paul's little partner, Private Eye, and it would be cool to have him back. And I think technically in continuity here, JT and Mac are married and they live somewhere else, and Reed lives with them, because I want to say JT got custody of Reed for one reason or another, so I'm not exactly sure why he would be in Genoa City, but I am sure that we're gonna find out all about that next week. So it should be good. I'm just fingers crossed that he's a troublemaker. Even bigger crossed that he ends up being a really big troublemaker. Like he could cause some problems in Genoa City, and that would be cool. So that was unfortunately him interrupting Billy and Victoria's moment, but maybe it's fortunate, depending on how you feel about Billy and Victoria just speedily reuniting. Now, on other hit or miss New Year's Eve moments, Nick and Chelsea. So that happened, or that almost happened, because yeah, as an adult, the best way you could possibly spend New Year's Eve is to be making out on your parents' couch. That's essentially what it was. Nikki and Victor are gone at the gala. Nick has a girl over in his parents' living room. And one thing leads to another, and they start smooching and making out and almost undressing. I mean, they were kind of getting there. And it was stopped by them, though. I mean, they decided, oh, we shouldn't do it. We can't go there. And that's why it doesn't resemble like teen Nick. I can almost imagine Nick saying to Chelsea, hey, I double dare you to jump off the roof into the pool while my parents are away. Oh my goodness, it was kind of juvenile, but I don't know. I kind of wish I felt more passionately that they would have gone through with it. I don't know. I feel like Y&R has been building up this relationship subtly for quite a while, and then all of a sudden they're sexually attracted to each other and trying to deny their feelings, when I don't really feel that they have been struggling to not be together. Do you know what I mean? It's been weeks and weeks of them being friends, and it really did feel like a friendship, and then this week it seems like it got kicked up to the sexual level. So it feels maybe like it could have transitioned a little bit better for me. I don't know. How are you guys feeling about Nick and Chelsea? Do you wish that they would have gone through with it, or are you kind of glad that they decided to overthink the whole thing and put a stop to it? I had to laugh at little Christian wearing his Newman Enterprises logo t-shirt. I feel jealous. I want a Newman Enterprises t-shirt. I'm not even kidding you. If they made a Newman Enterprises t-shirt, I would wear it. I'd wear it and just, it's almost like a secret handshake or something. I'd wear it and see if anybody noticed it. Just so that I could spark conversation about Y&R. Find other Y&R fans on the Underground Soap Railroad. I thought that was great. Maybe they do sell a Newman Enterprises shirt. I need to get one, man. Oh, okay. So that was the only sort of funny / happy thing that was surrounding Christian this week, because, oh, Lord, the Christmas visit that Nick allowed Christian to have with Sharon and Dylan became very reassuring, very re-energizing and encouraging for Sharon, but it had the exact opposite effect for Dylan. He was discouraged. He was sadder than ever. Seeing Christian, of course, is nice, but realizing that it was a one-time deal, that he is always going to be frozen out of Christian's life in one form or another, and that he's never really going to be able to be close with Christian in the way that he wants to, the way he longs to, that to him is a fate probably worse than death. I mean, at this point, that's not an understatement given what comes along further in the week. I mean, you guys, I don't know if it was Monday's show or Tuesday's show, but I just about died when he was in the living room at his house with Sharon, imagining that he was holding Sully, imagining that he was holding his son in his arms, and Sharon walks, oh my gosh, thinking about it makes me want to cry. Sharon walks into the room, and we flash out of the fantasy where he's holding Sully, and we flash to reality. Sharon just looking at him, standing there, holding his arms as if he's holding Sully, holding kind of a phantom baby. Oh my gosh, you guys, that was so sad. He's just there with his arms, in empty arms, where he's imagining a baby could be. It was brilliant for one thing, though. I mean, it was so sad, but oh my gosh, that scene really hurt my heart. I mean, it hit me deep. That was just one of the saddest things I think I've ever seen on this show. And of course, we know that that's happened to him twice. He had a snap from reality the first time that happened. Oh my goodness. And you know, I hadn't thought about it, but that child was also named after Sullivan, the man that he served with in the military that I believe was killed in the line of service, and Dylan saw it, or it was his best friend, and I think he did witness maybe Sullivan being shot or killed somehow, and it really, really messed him up. It is what caused him, in part, I think, to develop PTSD, and so that's what caused him to almost run away with Connor when he found out that Connor wasn't his son, and then to take that horrible thing that happened to Dylan and to try to turn it into something positive, a memoriam for his friend, and to honor his friend. They named him Sully, and it's layers and layers of sadness that I'm having a hard time getting over, and I just am gonna miss Dylan. I just think after all of this, I am gonna miss Dylan. He has accepted that deep undercover mission that was alluded to last week and that we chatted about last week as well. And in fact, Chris handed him some information about the mission this week, and he seemed completely okay and accepting if this mission were to turn into something that killed him. I mean, Dylan has lost the most important thing in his life, and at this point, it doesn't really matter to him if he dies. That's the vibe that I got off of it. I mean, he literally said to Chris, "That's fine, I don't care that the mission's dangerous. The more dangerous, the better." He literally said that. That is just, it speaks volumes to where Dylan is mentally, emotionally. He goes home, he tells Sharon that he's going to be going off on a dangerous undercover mission, and Sharon she doesn't really understand it yet. I think on a level she does, but she did say to him, "You're running away to keep from hurting. That's what you're doing." And she is completely correct. I can't imagine how difficult this is for Sharon on top of everything else that she's gone through, but now she's going to have to accept the fact that her husband could die. It's just, this is not going to go out on a happy note. It's going to be a tear jerker. From what I can tell, Steve Burton is still going to be around until January, so I'm guessing that we've just got a couple more weeks, and then it's going to be bye-bye Dylan. How much would you pay for this fabulous blue coffee cup? Can I start the bidding at $100,000? How about $200,000? This blue coffee cup is spectacular. This has been sitting in my cabinet for years. Wouldn't you like to have this? Let's go for, you guys can do better than 200,000. How about 300,000? I loved the bidding part of the auction this past week. I thought that was really cool because I like the sense that these people are wildly rich. I mean, spending all of this money on a dress or a car or a vacation, that is absurd to me. If it is more than like $30, I am offended by it. I cannot imagine spending $200,000 on a car or $8,000 or whatever it was on a dress. There is no way. The only price that I will not complain about is $1. I can spend $1 and feel okay about it, but I've been at thrift stores and looked at something and gone, $2. I don't know if I want to pay $2 for that. I'm way cheap. I am way cheap. So to me, it's part of the fantasy and the enjoyable part that these people are lavish, that they can just afford all of this stuff. So that was fun for me for the gala. And the funnest part for me about the gala, though, is the fashion. I'm so predictable, but you know, I love looking at the New Year's Eve gala fashion. I thought everybody looked fabulous. I only have one worse dressed. But I have so many great dressed. I mean, I would say the person who takes the cake for me, my best dress for New Year's Eve, I think she was my best dressed at Thanksgiving too, but I gotta give it to Nikki. She looked amazing. I loved her kind of curly updo. The dress was phenomenal. It was black, just a black basic dress, but it had these black lace sleeves. I thought she just had the best accessories of everyone. It was like a big chunky diamonds and pearls geometric shaped necklace, and she and Victor looked like the couple to be. I mean, you gotta hand it to him. Victor does look good in his tux. They cleaned up real nice. Victor and Nikki looked like the gems, the jewels of the ball. I thought it was gorgeous. My second runner up though was Hilary. I mean, I know I'm always saying about how beautiful Hilary looks, but I can't help it. Fuchsia looks good on her. The dress was gorgeous, but more than anything, whoever did her makeup for that needs to get an award because she looked so beautiful. I mean, her face looked unreal. Hilary's face, she looked like a porcelain doll. Her skin was so smooth, and just, I liked the way the fuchsia was kind of brought out in her makeup, but her lips were a little bit pale. She just looked gorgeous, even when she was on the staircase at home, kind of collapsing and crying. She looked beautiful even in tears. So I gotta give it to her, and I gotta give it to Lily. I said the same thing last week for Christmas fashion too. Hilary and Lily are bringing it right now. I don't know who's styling them, but Lily had this short, curly, kind of retro do. I don't know if it was sort of 20s inspired, 30s inspired, something about it just seemed retro to me. At the gala, she had on this really pretty mosaic sparkly dress, but whatever she was wearing before, it was this black and white sort of lace looking skirt and a blazer, and the hair, that outfit was not the formal attire, but she looked really good there too. I just thought those girls looked great. Mariah looked great. She had she was a little breasty. Mariah was in a wine colored nice formal dress, which we don't usually see from her, and we certainly don't usually see low cut wear from Mariah. So it struck me that Mariah was giving us a little bit of skin, although not as much skin as Phyllis. Whoa, Phyllis. Did you guys see Phyllis walk into that? Jack had his tongue probably rolled out of his mouth. I mean, Phyllis's attire, in case you didn't see it, for New Year's Eve was basically white and flesh tone. There was mostly flesh with a little bit of white covering up the main areas. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, it was very fleshy. She looked great with her new blonde hair. Just very, very beautiful. Yeah, those are my best dress. Oh, and Ravi. I thought Ravi looked nice with his little polka dot handkerchief and his yellow shoes. Usually the guys are kind of a blah blur for me. Nobody really sticks out, but Ravi stuck out in his yellow shoes. So who is your best dressed for New Year's Eve 2016? Let me know. Leave me a comment, yrchat.com, and then it doesn't hurt to let me know you're allowed to have a worst dressed too. For me, it's usually hit or miss for me, but I cannot normally, and I've said this before, recognize hair extensions, but I'm pretty sure that Ashley's hair did not grow 6 inches overnight. It was long, it was pinned back in this weird way. I'm sorry, but it did not look good. Well, I splurged this past Friday, and I tuned in live to the classic 1984 very first Victor Nikki wedding episode. It was such a treat. I was so happy to be sitting there watching it. I loved seeing the original intros, the pencil sketches. How great is that? I was hoping they would play an ending, but they didn't. I'm sure that it's because of the commercial lengths are different now than they were in 1984, but it was such a pleasure to watch that classic episode. I hope that you guys watched it too, because it was just really nice to, like, for me as a fan, I've been watching since I think 93, something like that. So for me, I recognized quite a few of the people there, but there were still enough people where I had to go, who's that? Who's that? Is that? I did a little bit of Wikipediaing during my watching so that I could keep, make sure that I know. I mean, I'm a kind of a long-term viewer, but there's still some gaps in my knowledge. I mean, I didn't recognize Jill. I think of Jess Walton as Jill, and although I've seen Brenda Dixon and I've seen Jill throughout the years, I think of Jill as Jess Walton. So, and I kind of think too that maybe the original Jack was in that episode. You guys will have to let me know, because John was there, of course, and I kept thinking, maybe is that supposed to be Jack? That's not Peter Bergman? It's hard to think of anybody besides Peter Bergman being Jack, for me anyway. But I did love the whole episode. It was just such a treat. Victor and Douglas. I remember Douglas, sort of Victor's his confidant. Douglas was just sort of Victor's go-to guy. I miss Douglas. What happened to him? He probably died, right? Did they address Douglas's death? I can't remember. It's been a while, but I loved seeing Victor and Douglas. I really loved seeing Nikki and her sister Casey in the bride's room getting ready. I really like Casey. I wish she was still on the show, but I kind of maybe think she died of cancer, the character anyway. I don't know about the actress. I didn't Wikipedia that much, but I really dig Casey. I thought she sort of seemed funky, and like she had kind of a raspy voice, and she seemed real, a little more of a real girl. And I do kind of remember maybe she came back and had cancer at some point, but I really enjoyed seeing those girls together. I loved the whole guest list. I mean, it was an international who's who. It's so funny just to think about how much things have changed since 1984. But I mean, there was a Chic in the background, and they really wanted to play it up that Victor was an international businessman, and I loved just seeing everybody dressed up and hobnobbing, and you could pick up on the little cues of drama between the different characters. Like, that person, they definitely slept together. I don't know, but they probably did. They're gonna sleep together soon. I mean, it was really fun to watch. There were, like I said, a lot of familiar faces. There were a lot of faces that I didn't recognize. All four of the Brooks sisters were there. The only one that I really remember is Lori, because she did come back in the early 2000s and did a stint on the show too. So I remember her being around. The other Brooks sisters, I don't know as well, because I wasn't watching at the time. I should go back into my Y&R history. But I recognize most of the people. I mean, we were just talking about Carl Williams last week. We had him and Mary there. We had Paul there. Lauren with her hair. With her hair and her big old puffy dress. Poor Lauren. She's had some fashion over the years. Somebody should do a photo montage of all of Lauren's crazy hair and outfits over the years. Of course, I'm not gonna lie, I had to have a moment when Catherine walked in, and she just looked so beautiful, and I just miss Jeanne Cooper so much, and it was just a pleasure to see her, and the way she holds herself, and just little things. There was a moment where she leaned on the staircase with her hand up, where she just was sort of famous for like showcasing the jewels. She all of the Catherine-isms were there, even though it was such a short little scene. There were so many things about it that were just such a pleasure, but and also sort of a dying breed in a way. I mean, there's so many things that they did with that episode that I don't think they would have done today. We saw Nikki and Victor's first dance, and it was really lengthy, and we saw everybody sort of waltzing around the dance floor, and in general, the fact that Y&R doesn't really spend as much money on these lavish weddings as they used to. It was, there was a lot of slow moments. There was a lot of big splashy decorations, and it's just sort of, they don't do that anymore, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. But it was good, and it was cheesy though too, because the whole thing had this ominous element of Eve Howard, who I don't really know her. Sorry, the name sounds familiar, but she was trying to poison Nikki the whole time, and it was ominous, yet there was these comedic moments built into it. And of course it was mostly about the love between Nikki and Victor and their vows. I mean, looking at Victor and Nikki on Thursday's show versus Friday's show, I mean, and thinking about the history of this famous soap opera couple, hearing Victor say that he vows to respect her as an independent person, and all of the words that they said, it's hard not to chuckle a little. But they were such a wonderful couple, so much love between them. It was such a pleasure to watch. Not gonna lie, I think that Ashley looked better. I would say Ashley's fashion, even though it was crazy in 1984, was better than the way she looked with that weird hair here in 2016. How did you get on Santa's naughty list? That was last week's Who Said It quote, and it was Lauren who said that to Michael as Gloria popped out of a box into their lives, and they're sort of scrambling together in a corner, wondering what they're gonna do now that Gloria is there. How did you get on Santa's naughty list? What did you do to bring your mother back in town? I thought that was kind of a fun line. And 5 of you guessed that it was Ms. Lauren Fenmore. So congratulations to T. Nicole, Henry, Tanya, Justin, and Nathalie. You guys caught that one. I just thought it was sort of a funny moment between Michael and Lauren. They're so cute right now. Gosh, I hope that they don't try to do a Michael, Lauren, Phyllis triangle. Please, no. I need my Michael and my Lauren to just stay together. That would be my preference. Phyllis and Michael were dancing this week, and I like their friendship, and gosh, I hope, sometimes you want a friendship to turn into a romance, but it occurred to me that that's an instance where I don't want that to happen. So anyway, I have a new quote for you this week. I'm going to read it to you, and you can tell me if you know who said it. Maybe I have evolved. Maybe I have evolved. Who said that during this past week's 4 episodes? If you think you know, go on over to yrchat.com. You'll see right where you can leave your entry, and if you get it right, I will give you your congratulations on next week's Y&R Chat. Well, I'd say it's just about time we got back to reading some of your comments here on Y&R Chat. Last week I talked a little bit about Devon and Hilary, and I was comparing Devon to Neil and Hilary to Drusilla, just sort of making a parallel between father's relationship with his wife and son Devon's relationship with his wife. Bonnie on Facebook says, Drusilla, though, was not near the evil person that Hilary is. Poor Devon's money sure is not buying him the love that he should get. Jaybird82 on YouTube says, I have no sympathy for Hilary. Being wealthy, beloved, carefree, spouse to a billionaire sounds like a dream come true. I have to agree with that. I wouldn't mind having a guy like Devon with billions to just spend on me. How much money does Devon have, by the way? He can buy a high-rise one week and a $200,000 car in the next. Gary left me a voicemail and says, what I liked about Mariah's revenge was that she did it with such a cool, smooth head. All she did was tell the truth very simply and very quickly. A+ for Mariah. I think everybody, by the way, is loving Mariah this past week and loving seeing her dish out the revenge. Sandra at yrchat.com says, I can see Mariah sitting by Devon's hospital bedside, certain that Lily won't let Hilary into Devon's room, and possibly the beginning of a new romance starting to bloom there. Sandra, I think that might be the case. I kind of took a break from thinking about Mariah and Devon for a second, but I could kind of see that. I like your point, by the way, that Lily is going to keep Hilary away from Devon if he is indeed going to be in the hospital, and I'm sure that Mariah will be there to comfort him. Who knows in what kind of capacity? I mean, it's another question of, you know, do you want a friendship to develop into a relationship? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Superplex at yrchat.com had a really good comment here. It's long. I'm gonna read it, but this is all very good and very important. Superplex says, I do not believe that they will be going down the same old road of having Devon suffer from amnesia as they did with Hilary. What I believe the Young and the Restless may be contemplating is using Hilary as a Florence Nightingale, nursing Devon back to health, thus proving in the meantime her value as a spouse and a caregiver, and facilitating Devon ignoring the toxic circumstances that led to his accident. This will provide us with the opportunity to watch Lily and Neil writhing in anger as they must stand by along the sidelines while Hilary seizes control of Devon's empire and commandeers the direction of GC Buzz into a format of unmitigated tabloid rag sheet. By the way, Superplex says it was interesting to note that the production staff was willing to spring for the cost of renting a Lamborghini Gallardo for this episode. Incidentally, the automobile seen on the screen during the auction was actually a Lamborghini Adventor, a newer, larger, and more expensive automobile than the Gallardo. Wow. Okay, first of all, Superplex, I really like that you zeroed in on the notion that Devon would have amnesia, because I did think about that as a potential scenario, hoping that Y&R doesn't go in that direction, kind of thinking they wouldn't, but you might be right that what we're going to see is Hilary fighting her way back in there to help nurse Devon back to health. And I hadn't thought about the fact that maybe she would be able to have control of Devon's money. That's kind of, she sort of wanted some control in their relationship, and maybe this is a way for her to garner that. But I think both Superplex and Sandra hit it on the head that Lily and Neil are not going to want Hilary in his life throughout this recovery. So that's a good little tidbit. And I mean, I know nothing about cars. I don't even know if I said those names right. I know I got Lamborghini, but Gallardo and Aventador. How about that? I think that's really good. I mean, for people who are into cars, that's a really, really good little tidbit there that I never would have picked up on. So excellent comment this week, Superplex. Thank you. Jan at yrchat.com says, I'm not sure who Reed is. Could he be a boyfriend for Summer, or are they related? Maybe he could finally be someone for Mariah. So I kind of already talked about who Reed is, but I do think Reed's gonna need someone his own age, and I sense that he is a teenager, so I don't know if he would work for Summer or anyone else, but I guess we gotta wait and kind of see what his age range is. Maybe they'll make him close to 21 or something like that. I don't know. I don't want him to exist in a bubble. I mean, they need to have some other teens on the show if they're gonna bring on a new teen, or maybe they're just using him purely as a foil for Billy and Victoria's relationship. T. Nicole at yrchat.com says, I don't know if it was just me, but I got pretty excited for that almost Billy and Victoria kiss. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about the whole Nick and Chelsea kiss. I wasn't over the moon excited, but not against it either. I do appreciate Chelsea feeling that bit of guilt over Adam, and having a struggle to allow herself to move on feels more real. Yes, I kind of had the same sense that I wanted to be more excited about Nick and Chelsea than I was. So I'm glad I wasn't the only one. But yeah, you make a good point there that I think the more important piece maybe was the fact that we got a sense of where Chelsea is as far as feeling hesitant to move on with her life. And Nick too. So I don't know. I just kind of in general wish Y&R would have taken both the Billy and Victoria and Nick and Chelsea relationships just a touch little bit slower. It just feels like it's coming out of nowhere. And finally, Anna left me a voicemail, and I didn't even think of this, but I love that Anna picked a best and worst dressed for the classic Y&R episode from Friday. I wish I would have thought to think about that, or to pick a best and worst dress. Anna's worst dressed for the classic episode, everybody. Anna says, everybody dressed awful in the 80s. It was pretty atrocious. Maybe Lauren might have been the worst for me. I don't know. It was pretty bad. But Anna's best dressed, Catherine. She says Catherine looked fabulous. And Anna had honed in on the fact that Catherine was fresh off of, I assume it was her first facial rejuvenation. And she had made some comments about that. She did it several times. Jeanne Cooper had work done several times, and Y&R worked it into the story several times, as I remember it in the 90s when she did it. But specifically, I really liked that Anna mentioned that you kind of have to remember nobody was talking about getting work done back then in the 80s. So it's almost something that you wouldn't think is a big deal now because it's much more mainstream. But as Anna mentions, it was a very bold move at the time for Y&R to write Catherine's plastic surgery or facial rejuvenation into the story the way they did. So yes, kudos to Catherine. She looked fabulous, and I miss that woman. Okay, everybody, I think that does it for me for this week. I cannot believe that my child allowed me to get through a full video Y&R chat without crying. That's amazing. Nap times are now gonna be when I try to sneak in my Y&R chats. So if you happen to notice the video or the audio cuts out at an abrupt moment and I come right back to it, it's probably because I'm consoling a crying child. We are going to have to wing it a little bit, but that's all right with me. In fact, last week I was trying to record the audio for Y&R chat and she was crying. I'm like, oh, come on. I need to get my chats in. We are just going to play it by ear. I am very happy that I was able to accomplish a video. I can't guarantee I'll be able to keep it up every single week with a video, but I'm going to try. At the very least, I know I can sneak in my audio updates for the meantime. I mean, I think the first couple weeks are probably going to be maybe the most challenging. I don't know. We'll find out. It's a learning curve, a learning process. So for now, I'm very happy that I was able to make it back and see you guys and have you see me here in person, in motion, and I'm definitely going to try to keep it up. YRChat.com is where you can go if you want to give me your feedback on anything that I've said or anything that you've seen. You can also vote in the polls and leave comments and who said it, and everything is there. Look at the photo captions. It's kind of a good centralized place to leave your comments. You can, of course, always leave comments on Facebook and YouTube as well. I do love hearing from you guys, and voicemail 309-588-4569. There's tons of different ways to reach me and give your feedback, and I do appreciate and love hearing from you, and I'm looking forward to reading your comments about the week and seeing where we are next week as well. So everybody have a good one. I hope everybody has had a wonderful holiday season, and Happy New Year. I hope you have a very happy 2017. I'll see you next time. Bye!